Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome to Sports Makes Sense, where the game meets the grind. I'm Joel Gamble, former NFL player for the Philadelphia Eagles, Cleveland Browns, and the Tennessee Titans. On this podcast, we break down the biggest sports stories and financial plays behind them, bringing you real conversations with athletes, coaches, and industry insiders. Whether it's contracts, investments, or life after the game, we connect the X's and the O's to the dollars and cents. Let's go. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Joel Gamble, host of Sports Makes Sense podcast. We're here with another special guest in the building. This guest today, one of my favorite Baltimore former NFL players. He is a special guy. He, is a master brander, master marketer, and I'll get into his bio briefly. So our guest today is a former NFL player who spent time with the Houston Texans. He later excelled in the CFL with the Toronto Argonauts. He is a proud Bowie State University Hall of Fame athlete and alumnus. He was a standout two-sport all-star in football and basketball. I know your boy was a hooper too. You feel me? Might have to go ahead and take him out there and cross him up a little bit. Showcasing his elite versatility. Since his playing days, he has embraced marathon running, demonstrating his endurance, dedication to fitness. He's passionate about brand exposure and now helps athletes and entrepreneurs build their personal brands for greater visibility and success. Hey, without further ado, we want to introduce our guest in the building today, Mr. Delano Low Johnson.
What's up, man? What's good, Joe? How you feeling, baby?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. How you been, bro? I know you in shape.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You run it.
I'm 4 weeks out from the Boston Marathon. I'm running the Boston Marathon this year, so yeah.
Wow.
It's up.
Wow.
It's up.
So
It's
we
up.
we we gonna get into that. We gonna get into that because that's a huge transition, bro. First of all to go from a smaller HBCU school to the NFL, and then transition from the NFL at your position, which was, if I'm not mistaken, defensive end, outside linebacker,
A
and
little
you
bit,
were
a little
around
bit
you.
D tackle too. A little bit of D tackle. Yeah. I played that three technique. I played a little bit of that nose in the league though. That's crazy. We're gonna talk.
That's
We're gonna
real
talk
crazy.
about it because
That's
I
real
definitely want to.
crazy. Yep.
If it's a linebacker out there who's a hybrid, they need to tune into this episode for sure because I want to talk about when they give you that option when you walk into that locker room and Wade Phillips taps you on your shoulder and he asks you, "Hey, you want to gain 20 pounds over the summer and make that 53-man roster, or you can stay competing with these 16 linebackers over here." So if it's a linebacker out there who might be a hybrid, this is your episode for sure.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I think that one of our friends, Brian Hall,
Oh
former
yeah.
Ravens player, he actually was in between as well. He played defensive line and linebacker too. But
He
let's get into your
was
story, man. You went to Bowie State University. Bowie State is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a Division II HBCU school, and it's in a CIAA conference. Talk a little bit about your experience there at Bowie State and two sports, first of all, and being able to, how did you get a chance to make it to the NFL from Bowie State?
So before we can get to Bowie, I want people to understand like the thing is I didn't start playing football until my junior year in high school. And I
Wow.
want to make sure while I'm doing this episode because I know they're going to listen. Coach Travis, Coach Lawrence, and rest in peace, Coach Eaton from Dunbar. Those
Mm.
were the three men who set me down in high school and was like, "You're 6'4", you playing the five position in city schools. It's a long way to go to play in the league with
Boy,
seven
look like
players at the
Charles
five position."
Barkley out there.
You know what I mean? So those guys, they set me down my junior year, man, and they were like, Lo, listen, we know you're passionate. We see you working hard. But my dad, at the time, he had an LA Fitness membership. This would be in 10th grade year. I was working out
Yeah.
with him. So when I came back my junior year for basketball, I was cut up like a football player. And they were like, man, we got to get you out here. So I never played before, never had to play the Pop Warner. I just had this, I'm the next LeBron James type of mindset and mentality. Went into that my junior year. They sat me down and was like, look, man, if you just try, you're going to get an opportunity to play football at the next level, meaning college. So I wound up playing my junior year. I did well. I had about 9 sacks, but it was a guy across from me, Yusef Dorminel. He made all Metro, second team junior year. And then senior year, he was preseason. So a lot of people were looking at him, and a lot of schools were coming to look at him for football.
Okay.
But for basketball, I had my not low. I don't want to call them low. All Division Ones are big D1s, right? But I had Bowie State. I had opportunity. Maryland. These are just some of the schools that were recruiting me. What was the school? College of Charleston, Kent State. These were like my basketball schools that I wanted to go to, and so I wound up, getting. I don't want people to think like I was this great athlete at football when I first started out, because I wasn't. I just knew line up in his stance, rush the quarterback. If the ball's coming at you, stop and run. Because people, like, they think, like you don't have it all figured out when you first start the game, but you do have to have the work ethic, right?
Right.
I know you know that too.
Yep.
Your story is crazy, outstanding, how you went through all of those obstacles to get where you're going. But so that wound up happening. And Yusef, he was like, man, you got to come to Bowie with me. I'm going down here for a visit. I'm like, all right, I'll come check it out. They was going to a basketball game. He was like super 22. He's like, he's about to be first team, all Met, all of these things I seen in year. And they offered him. So he signed. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to Bowie. Like, I'm going D1. I'm going to play basketball somewhere, right?
Right.
So Coach Lynn, they wound up coming to sit down with me at Dunbar. They was like, man, we watched your film. We told the basketball coach about you. If all else fails, at the time I couldn't get the SAT score. If it's a high school kid, listen to this. I don't know if they still doing it with the sliding scale. I know you remember coming out of high school, you had to have a certain.
My joint, I had to get like a 1600 was the score for the SAT. I was around 900, man, and I think now, like after COVID, they started to change some of that as it relates to the standardized testing. But I mean, I've seen a whole lot of athletes, man, miss the boat just because of that SAT and their grades.
One of them, I had a lot of scholarship offers taken off of the table for basketball because I couldn't, make the score. I promise you, I took the SAT at least 4 to 5 times. It was crazy. Like, so I had a lot of offers taken away, but Bowie was still there for me. And it was like, look, man, you can come play football and we'll allow you to play basketball. And we'll even I can't remember if they did a partial scholarship or what, or somehow they worked it out. I was able to play both. And the basketball coach wound up, we made it to the Comcast Center for the state championships. Dunbar, baby, shout out to the Poets, you know what I mean? But so I played at Dunbar. They came down to see me play at the Comcast Center. I met the head coach for Bowie, and I wound up getting a scholarship offer, and I wound up like, I'm going. You know what I mean? And so got there on campus. The NCAA wound up canceling my score, right? Believe it or not, I had to write a letter, true story.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know this. So I didn't play my freshman year. I wound up having to get redshirted because I didn't make the NCAA clearinghouse. So I'm already battling an uphill battle, right? Had to wind up sitting out my freshman year. And then, I finally got the opportunity to play my redshirt freshman year. And I was like, I was up 10, 15 pounds. I was college ready, right?
That boy was eating good on Bowie campus.
So it was good. It was all good. I was blessed. I still had my dorm room. Still had a little bit of scholarship money. It was really, because a lot of people don't know, man. If you don't make that clearinghouse coming out of high school to college, and sometimes they take you off the table. I could have been back home, but Bowie, they stuck with me. So I wound up gaining like 15 pounds, and I was ready to go. But I still was playing ball. Like, this is freshman. I'm going to fast forward to my sophomore year. Had a decent freshman year. Nothing too outstanding, right? But my sophomore year was better. But again, I gained about 20 more pounds. So now I'm about 235, 240. Like my sophomore year, about to wrap it up. And I was playing basketball again that year. Going into my junior year, I was preseason All-American. And coach sat me down again. It was one of those conversations like, look, bro, the 7th man off the bench. You averaging 1 point a game, 4 fouls. It's, you know what I mean? Like, we know you love basketball, but if you really want to put your heart into this football thing, it's time to put all your cards on the table. So
Yeah.
put my cards on the table, went all in for football. Had a dominant junior year, and that's when the scouts started coming on campus. Student athletes that are listening to this podcast right now, I want you to understand it's just not about what you're doing on the field. There were actually NFL scouts talking to my college professors. They were talking to people in the cafeteria, and I didn't notice at the time, but I wound up finding out after, you know how when you go back to school and people talk about how they talk to certain people. It was a real good dude from the Jets. I forget the recruit name, but he also changed my life my junior year. Again, I balled out, so I'm going into my senior year. I'm working out probably twice a day in the summer, up to about 255. And the Jets, he comes in, he's like, take your shirt off. Didn't speak. He didn't shake my hand. He didn't say what's up. Take your shirt off. That was the first. I walked into my coach's office. He asked me to take my shirt off, and I'm looking at my coach. He was like, "It's like what you waiting for?" So I take my shirt off. Right, I'm diesel though because I'm working out twice in the summer. I'm cut up and everything like that. He was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So he asked me, he was like, "What time did you work out today? What time was your first workout?" I was like, "What, 8:30, 9?" Like, you can't play for me. This is the Jets. He said this to my face, and I'm looking at my coach. I'm like, man, I'm cut up. Like, I'm about to go work out again later on. And he said the dudes in Florida have already worked out. They probably headed into their second workout. You're like 2 hours behind, but my players are up and in the weight room by 7 a.m. at the latest. And I was like, damn. And I promise you, my whole senior year, I was running at 6:30 a.m. And if you look at any story I ever tell, I always tell a story because I never forget. His first words was take my shirt off, and that I was getting up too late and I couldn't play for him, right? He was just flat out honest. It wasn't because of my film. It wasn't because of my size. It was just he was showing me that coming from where I was coming from a Division II football, HBCU, already stereotype, right? They might not learn the playbook. They're going to be late for practice. We got bad habits. That was a stereotype when I was coming out. And again, this is 2012. It may have changed since I've been in college, but that was the storyline. And he basically showed me, and in that moment, he was teaching me a lesson that, one, I'm going to have to outwork everybody. I have to know, look, bro, 8 o'clock is too late. Them boys in Florida and already ran 20 gashes. Them boys in Cali, they on that second workout, right? So he was, you know what I mean? He was teaching me the game without teaching me the game. He sat me down after that, told me, I'm a great player, but I just work out too late and whatever. And I took that to heart. My senior year, I changed all of those things around. But here's the kicker, and I'm glad we're recording this because this is going to be the bomb drop. I never made all conference. I was never an All-American. We were the number one Division II defense for at least 2 to 3 years. I led the linebackers 2 of those years in tackles, but I never made all conference, and I never was All-American. And I believe, honestly, it was because the coaches voted on it at the end of the year. I don't know if we can cuss on here, but I was an a-hole. I mean, I'm one of them guys, face mask. I had a penalty almost every game. And this is what I'm saying about your character, not just on the field, but when you're on campus, it's more than just what you do when the lights are on, right? You got to be a good person all the way through because it could, ultimately hurt your opportunity.
Part of your brand.
Yeah. And at the time, I'm 20 years old, 21 years old. I don't know. I'm just thinking I'm being this tough guy. I'm kicking dudes' helmets off the field. I'm cursing at the coaches on the sideline. I probably made linebacker of the week almost 8 to 9 times, 8 times. Within 2 years, right? 10 times. And I'm like, damn, we're the number one defense. Why am I not making all conference? I don't understand this. But looking back on it now, it had a lot to do with my character, right? But yeah, we wound up, having a dominant defense. We had a dominant team. We made it down to the CIAA. I won defensive MVP. So it shows you I can play with the best of the best, right? When we was on the stage, we were on ESPN, 11 tackles, 1 sack, 2 pass breakups. I remember all my stats, and I'm crying with the trophy because I would have rather took home that. But like I said, man, it was all of my character held me back so much in sports and in football because of the type of guy I was on the field. Now, when I was very respectful to people on campus and stuff, so they had nothing but good stories to tell. But on the field, I thought being a dog meant you had to be this, just aggressive, all out. And you could be a dog without being that. We see Ray do it all the time, right? But that's kind of what happened. But the transition for me after that, again, had 2 junior, senior year, I nailed it. I got a blessing. I got a call from Joe Leonard, who was representing Joe Flacco at the time.
Okay.
He called me up to New Jersey, and I got an opportunity to work out like 40 days up there with what is it, Parisi? What is it? What is that?
Parisi Speed School.
Yes, what is that?
Yeah.
They have one here in Maryland too. They all
Yep.
over the country.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
I trained there for my pro day. Man, I
Yeah.
came back. People couldn't even recognize me. My neck was, I mean, like, bruh, like you know how I mean, veins popping out, up there, you eating clean. So I had
Yep.
some of the best trainers. It was crazy, bro. Like it was just night and day. And again, not knocking Bowie State, we just didn't have those sort of resources as far as
Mm.
nutrition, some of the equipment that they had, some of the
Mhm.
coaches that they had, honestly, at that time, right? I had great coaches, no denying that. Coach Wilson, he's like a 6-time champion. He done went from Bowie to Morgan. He can coach anywhere in the country, right? Coach Wilson, he's
Yeah.
one of the greatest. Then I had Durante Jones. He coaches in the NFL now. My boy
Wow.
Sue, number one defense in the country, Division One for Morgan. So, like, I had some great coaches around me, but it's only but so much they can teach you as far as
Yeah.
the next level go, right?
Yeah.
As far
Yeah.
as training for the combine, they prepped me and prepared me. But I wound up going to New Jersey, get some good coaching, and I came back and I dominated my pro day to be in. Before you guys like what you mean by dominate your pro day. Now again, I came back, I was 265, 6'5", well, 6'4" and 3/4. I got to 6'5". Tricks of the trade is please understand.
That boy was on his tiptoes out there, like.
And when you're doing your vertical, there are secrets to success. I'm telling you guys now. I'm going to give you the real game. Some dude's going to hold it from you, but there's certain techniques that you can do to make your arms longer. So with your
Yep.
weigh in, you want to drink a gallon the night before and not take a pee until after you do your weigh. It's all types of tips I'm telling y'all that you can use to give yourself an advantage. When it comes to your pro day. But I had a
Mhm.
dominant pro day. But this is a funny story. First, so they had me projected to run 4.847, right? If I
Mhm.
ran that, I had an opportunity maybe to get drafted. First one I come out 4.95.
He's
I
265. That's husky.
my family there, all of my teammates are there.
Yeah.
Everybody know I've been away for like a month and a half training, really just for the 40, if you want to be honest. Like 225
Yeah.
and the 40 is really what they're looking for in linebackers, and a couple drills to see if you can really open your hips, right? But man, I come out. Yo, first one, 4.95. That was my time. I clocked my first 40. They let me run it again, right? But the first one was 4.95. I go to the other side of the field and I'm like in tears because I can see it's like 40, 50 people up in the stands, like watching me do my pro day. It's
Yeah.
like other dudes running too, but all the eyes and ears were like on me. Everybody's there to see me, right? We had
Yep.
the Ravens, we had the Green Bay Packers, we had the Jets, and it was one more team. I think the Colts. It was those four teams, right? So they there, I'm having a day. I put up 225, 26 times. I'm following all the rules. I got my sweatsuit zipping up every time I finish a workout. And this is another key to keep your body warm. Athletes, if
Mhm.
you're listening, this is one of those gyms you want to take with you. Keep your sweatsuit on throughout throughout your drills at your combine day, right? At your pro day. There's going to be other athletes going behind you. You want to stay warm for as long as you can. So after my broad jump, I put my jacket back on. After I did my vertical jump, I put my jacket and my pants back on. I was trying to keep my butt, and they teach you this. If you go to a
Mhm.
good combine trainer, they're going to teach you these tips. Because again, if you got 10 guys behind you and you waiting to do your broad jump, right, or your vertical, you're going to get cold. So you want to make sure that you stay active and ready. Wind up running a 4.95, and then I come back and I run a 4.75. And they're like, hey, you want to run another one? I'm like, no, I'm good. Let's
Nah, I'm good. I'm done. I'm done for the day.
You know what I mean? So I wound up doing that, and I put the time down. And like all of these stories, like articles started coming out, about me and coming from D2. It was just crazy, man. Everything just
Wow.
aligned for me.
Wow.
Everything aligned for me.
That's amazing, bro. And you mentioned like the resources at Bowie were it was a bit slim, and oftentimes when we talk about HBCUs and for historically our HBCUs have been under invested, or not invested in. And we find that they don't have the same resources as a Georgia, as a Florida State, and those types of
Yeah,
schools.
yeah,
And so, how impactful was it when a player like Deion Sanders steps into the spotlight at a Jackson State and is able to kind of shift the culture? He's able to say, "Hey, like our HBCUs deserve more, and then he was able to also bring those resources that you talk about, like a better weight room facility, being able to play on TV,
Yeah.
more money, all of those types of things. How impactful is that for HBCUs?
It's everything, right? The thing that I loved about Dion is that he didn't dress it up. It was raw. I don't know if you like. I'm going back to Jackson State, right? Like
Yep.
the beginning of Jackson State before, like when he walked into those facilities
Hmm.
at the field. Some of them didn't have turf. It was muddy.
It was unacceptable. He said it. Yo, this is unacceptable.
And he put that out there, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of poured in, and then with him putting that light on HBCUs, people started pouring in more money, you know. But I think the biggest piece is the resources, right? If HBCUs had great athletes, right? It's just we're limited by those things. I don't want to say the wrong or the right thing, right? Because
Mhm.
you and I know we've been in some places, man. It's like this is unreal. I'm just
Right.
I don't, and I'm saying this because, and a lot of people want to listen to this. I always want to be politically correct, but I got to be real, bro. It was times where we walked in the locker rooms or we went to away games and we were there like standing outside changing up, right? And I mean, even the meals sometimes on the buses where we traveled to, it was just like, come on, right? You know what I mean? And the
Hmm.
nutrition plans that we had and the coach and as far as the weight room goes, it wasn't all there. I'm not complaining because I was blessed to go through that, and I've seen the other side, which is the NFL, and it
Yeah.
was like, what the hell is this? But like y'all literally got color coded food. I guess got to give you this, and you know what I need to eat, and you already got my shake ready, and it's
Yep.
extra towels in my. I can take a shower here. I don't. So I mean, you want to wash my clothes? I only got to put it. Man, it was like I can go get another pair of cleats right now if I wanted to. Right, and
Yep.
Division One schools have this. Like they
Pair
don't.
of gloves every practice.
My practice gloves was my game gloves, right? It was like you get one pair of cleats for the year, basically. And I want people to think like, oh, he's talking bad about it. I love Bowie State. I love my HBCU. I love that I had the opportunity that I did. I think Dion, man, he spotlighted. He showed a lot of things that a lot of us, didn't want to say because we didn't want
Yeah.
to be disrespectful to our alma maters. But like I said, he put a lot of light to that, and he brought those resources. So I think his most impactful thing that he's done for the HBCUs was be raw, genuine, expose a lot of things that were happening, and you see the changes now.
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't come in and when you talk about exposure, like he didn't come in and like talk bad about it and then leave or anything like that. He came in and actually created a change that needed to take place in order for these athletes to benefit from the resources. And now we also see a whole lot more NFL players taking the reins as head coaches. You got my former teammate Deshaun Jackson, he at Delaware State. My
Yeah,
former teammate Mike Vick at Norfolk State now. You got Eddie George that's at Tennessee. You got all of these. Marshall Falk just signed on with Colorado and Dion. Warren Sapp was at, like all of these NFL players are now taking the reins as coaches, but not only just coaches, but coaches of HBCUs, with Eddie George and Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson. And I think that's huge because they're able to bring exposure and then bring those resources because of who they are to those types of schools, which is, that's game changer.
them as men because they are going to change lives ultimately. But the overall impact is what we're saying, right? Bringing those resources and the spotlight to the HBCUs, right?
Yep.
So I think it's really that, man. The more and more athletes and football players start getting into HBCUs, the more resources are going to pour into it. The contract for Jackson State was crazy. What they were with CBS or I don't think HBCU ever played on CBS, right? That was crazy.
Yeah,
It's never
yeah.
been seen. I know for sure they had like their own channel on Prime. Like who? HBCU? Come on, bro. Come on.
Dion bring a different level of cachet. He bring a different level of just marketing ability, all of that. So it's definitely different. Even though we talking about a lot of NFL players that's taking over as coaches, they're more than likely they're not gonna be able to reach Deion Sanders, the lengths that he was able to take Jackson State.
to win at a HBCU, you have to know how to lead, man. You got a lot of young brothers who I'm only going to speak from my class and myself. You know, a lot of us, we've probably been outside of Baltimore 20 times if you put all of us together, right? And it was
Yeah.
all because of an AAU tournament or traveling for football. So just imagine, you know, the type of man you would have to be to get these Baltimore kids structured, family oriented, and being able to play with each other for 4 years to a point, right? Again, a lot of us grew up in sports, so we understand brotherhood on the field, but off the field, it was kind of like we were all for self, right? And
Mm.
like you know, that took a lot to mold us together to get us to a championship. And what these brothers are taking on, I hope you know that they understand that it's more than football. It's a responsibility
Yeah.
for a lot of young black men that are coming from some broken households or coming from some troubled past or maybe transferring in from a situation where they need the guidance. And I think they got the right dudes, right? Mike Vick,
Yeah.
when you talk about those type of dudes, they've been through some things, so they're able
Yep.
to teach some lessons. So I think
Yeah.
that's a big.
Yeah. The players.
That's ultimately what leads to winning.
Yeah, and the players can relate to them, especially having the testimony that they can share with, with these players and these athletes. That's something that, I started to see when you transition from being in the NFL. I started to see you and your transition from, NFL player to investing in businesses
Here we
and
go.
then moving on to being able to brand and market yourself. Could you say at one point in time, your branding and your marketing was a struggle, for you at Bowie. But now, moving forward, all of a sudden, there was a shift and you became like a branding and marketing guru. And now you're able to, first of all, speak life into, like you said, young men and women when you do your speaking engagements and things like that. But then second of all, be able to land opportunities with major companies as it relates to your marathon running. So speak on that. Like, how was the transition? How are you able to change like the trajectory of like your marketing and your branding from like struggling with it at one point in time to now like that's your thing?
Yeah, it's you just got to be able to adapt. I've always been that type of guy, though, right? Since I was a kid, living with my mom, living with my grandma, and moving with my dad. So I've always been able to adapt. That's the foundation of it, right? But football, any sports or any athlete will tell you, especially if you reach the top of the mountain, it's a hard transition. I don't care how much
Hmm.
money you made. I don't care if you
Hmm.
still have all your money or you're dead broke. It's a tough transition. You go from a kid at 9 years old waking up to train almost every day or compete at something, right?
Yeah.
Not when you retire from it or it's taken away from you or it's cut short from an injury. You go through a phase, bro. Like I know we athletes, so we can feel it, but it's
Yep.
people out there like, bro, you're not the only one, right? Because some dudes they stop football or stop basketball, and we never hear from them again, right? They like superstars, and then they go into the
Yeah.
show. They don't know how to rebound. I was in that phase. I was the thing I always loved was working with kids. Even when I was playing the game, if it was, you get opportunities in the NFL. I know you know about this because you still do it now with your
Yep.
foundation and everything. I can tell you it's a passionate thing for you. But
Yeah.
I would go and I would do the flag football leagues, or I would go and play with the kids, or if they asked somebody who wanted to speak to the kids, I would go and do the motivational speaking thing, right? So that was always a part of me. And then I got my degree in child and adolescent studies. So it's
Mm.
always been something I wanted to do. And while I was still playing football in the CFL, up in the Canadian Football League and the NFL, I would volunteer for those things in Baltimore City schools. So
Mm.
after it was over, I got a job as the dean of students at a Baltimore City Public School, Excel Academy. And then I was still depressed, where I couldn't find myself. It was like I was hooping at LA Fitness. I was, playing pickup leagues, the bowler, all of these things. But it was just something like missing, bro. Like I couldn't figure it out, at least for like a year and a half after, because I was like, if you're released or you're injured as a football player and you're in your 30s, you're going to keep training. You feel like you're going back. At some point, you're like, man, I'm going back to the league.
Yeah.
What's going on? My faith, I got, and it's Joe, like, you can help me with this, bro.
1 year, look, 1 year go by, 1 year go by, then it slips. Another year go by, then it's like, that thing looking a little farther out,
Yeah,
and you touched on a great point, man. Like the depression that a lot of players go through because football is a different sport in terms of like you could go and hoop in LA Fitness and be a retired basketball player, and you could go and play golf, and you could pretty much play golf until you older. And even when it comes to baseball, even being able to go and hit the ball and things like that, but or softball leagues, but there's really no outlet for former NFL players, and you find a lot of these guys are dealing with mental health issues, and they're dealing with, I mean, just a lot of issues from the transition period. It took me 2 years to transition, bro, and to realize like, because my dream was never to make it to the NFL. It was to be a Pro Bowl tight end in the NFL. And so, like, people didn't understand how I would always talk about being in the NFL as a disappointment, only because I was like, yo, I didn't reach my goal, my accomplishment. You guys see this, but I was already like, I already knew I was going to be here. And so, that kind of, fueled me as well to, start to think about like, hey, what was this whole NFL experience about? And then, I started to just question at first, but then I started to thank God, man, because he blessed with just a opportunity, experience, and a
2%,
platform. And a
2%.
platform, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, 2%. What is it? 2% of the people make it.
1%.
1% in the NFL is crazy. I got
1%.
1%. That's why I ran a marathon. You know, only 1% of people in the world run marathons too.
Woo.
So
Wow.
football, yeah, that's crazy, right? That's
Yeah.
wow. To respond to what you said though, as far as how did I get into running? So, like I said, the transition. So I went through kind of a mental spiral. I was 295 right at the time, almost 300 pounds because again, I didn't just play outside linebacker. I wound up moving over to D tackle and nose guard. So I
Yeah.
had to go like 20, 30 pounds after my rookie year going into, my next year in the league, my second year in the league. So when I didn't make it and then I wound up going to the CFL, I was playing D tackle in the CFL for 3 years. I started at three technique. I started at nose. I even started at outside linebacker for the Hamilton Tiger Cats 1 year, right? It was crazy. Like every year I started at a different position up there. It was crazy. Again, once I finished with it, well, I got injured. I wasn't finished with it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I say it all the time like I wasn't done. I wanted to go back. I was waiting on that call from the league. I was waiting on that call from a CFL team, and it just never came. I had my son at the time, my oldest son, and I was like, man, I got to make a decision because people don't understand the financial, and it's no stability when you're playing football. It's like either you're making a lot of money or you're going to go 6 or 7 months where you're almost making $0, right? You don't have a job, and your only goal is to play at this next level. People don't know the sacrifices, but you got to sacrifice a lot.
Yep.
All those sneakers, gas, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Rent. At the time, rent was still due. I had a kid. His mom, my wife now, she was working extremely hard, to keep the bills and keep us afloat, trying to help me chase my dream. And I was going through it, man. Like I just was in a slump. So I wound up overeating. And then one day I'm like, man, let me get back in shape. That exercising has always been my foundation, right? That's like how I get all of my thoughts together. If it wasn't running, basketball, or some type of physical activity, I'd probably be somewhere 400 pounds. You know what I mean? But I wound up getting up on a Monday. It was 2018. That winter, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna run a mile under 8 minutes. And I just was running Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6:30 every day. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then 2019 in February, I signed up for my first 5K. It was over. I was high. I had that athlete's high again. It was like, oh yeah, this is it. Well, I can compete. I can compete at my pace. There's people out here high fiving each other. There's so much support. This is like, man, it's not football, but it's like right there, close to it. That type of feeling that I had, and I'm like, bro, I can get better at this. So I dropped like 20 pounds. Went from 295 to 275. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a marathon this year. And people were telling me, like, no, bro, don't do no marathon. I'm like, bro, I played in the league, bro. Like, what you, bro? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You
bro.
used to the grind. You already good with it. Yeah, I mean, he just wasn't used to seeing that.
What? They like, nah, bro, like you gotta come down a little bit, lose some weight, run some races. I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do it this year. They're like, All right, we'll see. I wind up. Now, granted, I went out there. I got my tail handed to me, right? I walked a little bit. I ran a little bit. I walked a little bit. I
Yep.
trained hard for it. I'm not gonna lie, but I wound up not having a great time. But it was I got addicted to the feeling, man. And then after that, I started an organization with a few other athletes, not football players, but athletes that I knew, from
Mhm.
Baltimore that were kind of entrepreneurs as well, and getting into the running space. So we started Runners Run. And from there, I met a lot of people, bro. Like, I mean, people that I would never meet unless I was running. So I wound up meeting my guy Thomas from Believe in a Run. I went down there and I'm like, bro, I'm low. Like, I see what you guys doing. Man, I'm trying to be a part of the team. And he gave me an opportunity to run the New York City Marathon with him, introduced me to these people from New Balance. And it was like, and from there, it was just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's walking me around the room, like, man, I love this dude. Like, he's former NFL player. You can't tell this dude he can't run a sub 4 marathon. Like, he got a great story. Like, he blessing me. You know how it is.
Right.
Like, somebody believes in you, and that's what ended up happening. And from there, like, I just stayed consistent with my content. Really, really, really bought into the concept of running. I'm over 800 days straight with running at least 1 mile every day. Over
Wow.
800 days, like right now. So it's the consistency of it. It's just like football. It's just like basketball. It's just like any sport that I ever played. The more work you put into it, the better you get at it. Right. So
Wow.
that's how I wound
Wow.
up, rebranding myself and getting into the running game.
Yeah. And so how has, just your overall journey as an athlete, how has that impacted the business portion of things too? Because we always want to talk about with sports makes sense. We want to talk about the financial aspect and how, of course you transition from, the fluctuations in salary from, being in the league and, now you're trying to find opportunities and then the CFL and then just now you got to, get a regular job, 9 to 5. And now being able to, I guess, market yourself to the point where you got New Balance and, I mean, shucks, you got billboards and posters in the stores, and you've been able to leverage your social media for branding and marketing purposes. How can a younger athlete out here be able to do the same, especially in the day and time of in
Yeah. So I would just say the biggest piece is don't create content. You won't be consistent, right? What I did is just document my life, and that's the biggest piece. I'm gonna say that again. Don't create content. Document your life. Whatever you're doing is enough to inspire other people. It could be 3 people right now,
Mm.
300 people next week, 100,000 people the week after next, right? Now, granted, coming into the running space, I did have the football background with me, so that kind of, it helped me a lot with. It's a conversation starter. You walk into a room, you see a 6'5" dude, 270. Going in here, are you security? Like, why are you here, right? Like, why are you
Right.
so big? I know you done walked in plenty of rooms.
Looking like Debo out here at the marathon. Like, yo, he way too big. Yo, Terry Crews out here.
I've seen you like in your business clothes and all that, and then
Yep.
you like football players. So the first thing somebody gonna ask you is, "Are you an athlete?" And the wild thing is that is not the card that I pull first. I
Mm.
barely, I barely talk about it until I talk about it, and
Yeah.
you know, because I want to be respected in the running space for the work that I'm putting towards the running, but
Yeah.
ultimately. I don't. I'm never going to downplay my story. You know what I mean? So if you ask me, were you an athlete? Of course, yeah. I played at Bowie State University. That's the first one. It's like, man, well, did you play pro? And then I tell them, like, yeah, I played in the NFL for a few years, played in the CFL, right? But I don't lead with that because I want you to judge me for who I am first, right? Before you know where I came from in my
Yeah.
story. But from the financial aspect, I will say this for athletes: a thing that I did, and I always, I don't call it wasn't a plan B. It was a part of plan A always, and that was to be an
Mm.
entrepreneur. And you hear the stories, you hear about, hey, make the right investment, sign with the right agent, right? Have a plan, have a backup plan. It's not about having a backup plan. It's about adding to your plan that you're already developing
Mm.
as an athlete, right? So I understood, okay, my rookie year, man, let's go get us a barbershop. This is cool, but they don't pay you in the off season until you go to OTAs. That's what
Right.
we doing. And that was the biggest piece, right? So after my rookie year, I wound up renting a space downtown, and we opened the Fineo Love Barbershop. And we wound up opening a salon right over top of it. Did very, very well for 3.5 years. The great investment. I didn't know everything about it. I was like, again, I was doing all of this on the fly. And this is before people can go to YouTube and say how to run a barbershop, right? This is
Right.
2011, 2010. At the time, like we wasn't utilizing AI and all of these
Right.
websites where it can tell you exactly how to run it. So me and my brother Seth, we were kind of businessmen on the fly. We're young, 25-year-old, first generation college graduates, just opened the business and we're running it to our best of our ability. And we did an outstanding job for, like I said, 3.5 years, but he wound up getting another endeavor and training, right? He became his own business owner with the Foot Doctor, which was one of the
Oh yeah,
biggest
yeah.
on the East Coast. Yeah, Seth he took
Yep.
off crazy, right? And I was one of his first clients. I was his first client. That's what
Right.
as an NFL player. But again, I invested into a barbershop. It did really, really well. I was still working. I was working, training to go back to the CF, and I had a barbershop open all at the same time. I had a different outlook. I wanted to be successful in multiple things, right? And I kind of took in that now. The same mentality that I had then when I was playing football is the same thing now. Okay, I'm an athlete, but when I get off, I'm a father. I got to invest time into my son. I invest time into my runner's run business. And then it all wraps around, right? I'm staying in
Mm.
shape, staying healthy, physically, and I'm helping people at my job, with the kids. So it all, God has blessed me, man, to really, really be in some spaces where it all kind of clicks together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you've been able to travel around the world too. I mean, you've run in the Tokyo Marathon. Like where how many spots have you actually gotten a chance to run at around the world and around the country?
So it's in running, it's six world majors. It's Tokyo, Berlin, Boston, New York, Chicago, and where am I missing? Where am I missing? Did I say Tokyo?
Yeah. Yep.
London. London.
Okay.
So I've ran London, I've ran Chicago, and this is all within the last year too. That's what I said. Like, but again, it all comes from I started documenting my story.
Mm.
Right? I didn't go and try to find like creative ways. Not again. I do draw creative energy from different content creators. I go and I look, man, that's dope. Let me add that a little bit to mine, but it's authentically me, and I try to make it as much as me as possible as well as with the Runners Run brand. We try to make it as organic as possible. We don't go and pay for followers or likes or any of those things. We're allowing
Yeah.
genuine people to be a part of what we got going on. And but the thing is too, Joe, like man, you know this with any content that you're creating or anything you're putting out, you have to be consistent. You
Mhm.
got to feed the people, whether you're getting 5 likes or 500 likes. Be consistent with your content, right? You're going to inspire somebody. Somebody's good enough because I do. I get up, I look at people who I'm inspired by, right? I see you, oh, man, my man Joe got on the Queens today with the suit and shit. Let me go. Like you draw inspiration from different people, right? Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep.
I got good at that and I got good at consistently doing it. And then I wind up, and here's the thing, you can't be scared to ask. A lot of people, man, you played in the NFL, they should be coming to you. No. Almost every brand that I've worked with over these past 2 to 3 years, I've reached out to them or
Mm.
somebody has introduced me and I go and I say, hey, I'm such and such. I'm looking to do this. I love what you guys do and I love your product. Is it an opportunity where we can partner? And again, some of these aren't paid ventures, right? You never know. Sometimes they pay you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the product may be your payment. And a lot of people,
Mhm.
you're not getting paid for that, right? But they've sent me over $300 to $400 worth of, hydration or electrolytes or whatever. That's enough in itself for one or two posts, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing too. You got to get out your own way because that opportunity might create more opportunities for you. Just deciphering through that, figuring out what's for you, staying consistent, and being who you are. And again, don't create. Always document, and you'll always have content to post, right? And
Nice.
that's kind of been
Nice.
that's been my niche for over these past 3 years, and it's been kind of paying off. But again,
Yeah.
London, Tokyo, New York, Chicago. I'm headed to Boston, like I said, in 4 weeks to run the Boston Marathon, and then I'll have Berlin at the end of the year. I'm not in Berlin yet, so if somebody's listening to this and they look at me, they want to send me a bib, please send me a bib. I need a bib for Berlin so I can cap off the six world majors. I know God is going to bless me with it some way. I'm just being patient, but I'm also taking steps towards it, right? So again, putting it out there to the universe. I'm gonna finish it off this year for sure. But six world,
Nice. Nice.
yes,
Man,
sir.
that's amazing. Amazing story, man, how you've been able to, just through your perseverance, been able to market yourself, brand yourself, and so what I'm hearing is just consistency as an entrepreneur, just making sure you're putting out consistent product that is needed, and so that's something that you continue to do, man. I salute to you, for sure. I appreciate you, bro.
Oh, it sound like you wrapping up. It sound like we closing up. We just getting warm, yo. Wrapping me up. It sound like you wrapping me up.
we
We got a little bit more. Oh no, we running out of time.
we gonna have to double up, but for those out there that may be interested in connecting with you, give everybody your social media handle. Tell everybody what's next outside of the Boston Marathon and the Berlin. What's next for Low? Often are you running? What's your regimen like? Talk to us about that to close things out.
All right. So for those who don't know, first I want you to stop right now. The biggest piece, I want you to follow my business page. I don't even consider it a business. Follow the family. It's Runners Run with an underscore at the end. Again, Runners Run with an underscore at the end. That's the biggest piece. Follow that, and then we can go from there. I'll find you on there for sure, because normally myself or my business partner Moss, he's running the page. So we'll find you, and I'll follow you from there. But outside of running and sports and work, I still do speaking engagements. I got an opportunity coming up to speak at Hampton University, the cross team. I think April the 11th. I got to check my calendar again. But I still do motivational speaking. If you haven't had the opportunity to check me out, go on my page or Google my name. I've had a difficult journey starting out my life, but I don't even want to call it difficult. I've had some obstacles, and I have some stories to tell that can inspire some people who may be going through the same thing. For those of you who don't know, I lost my mom my freshman year in college. We didn't get really into that, but I lost my mom my freshman year in college. My brother was murdered here in Baltimore. So I got some things that happened over my life that I'm willing to share with you guys, and hopefully it inspires someone to get out and chase after their dreams. But I got a few gigs booked and lined up. If you want to hear me speak, again, check me out. Reach out to me via social media. It's so_thankful10, and other than that, man, I'm just blessed to be a father. My kids, they're all in sports now. My daughter, she's up next, and it's just been an awesome journey, bro. I'm on an awesome, ride right now. I don't never want to get off, and I think with the consistency of it, I don't think the ride will stop until God has called me home. So, because I plan on training forever, I plan on running forever, I plan on inspiring people forever, and I plan on telling the story forever. So, it's just up, you know what I mean? And the more people I can take with me, it makes this journey even that much better. So, yeah, bro.
Yeah. No doubt, no
Yes, sir.
doubt. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your time, man, for coming on. We'll have to double back, and after you knock out this Boston Marathon and the Berlin joint, we want to come back, and see how
Yeah.
everything went, and check in on you, man. Hey, everybody, Low Johnson in the building. Check him
Yes,
out.
sir.
Runners Run page, business page. Check him out, everybody. Thanks so
All right,
much.
bro. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate you.